All right, people of faith, let's take another walk. Let's talk on the subject of establishing the kingdom of heaven foundation inside of a relationship. What is a relationship? How do we determine who we're supposed to be with and so forth? And versus being with someone who's equally yoked and unequally yoked. First, we have to establish that Jesus is Lord. And for the person who don't recognize Jesus as Lord, it's going to be hard to have structure without it. For what Jesus brought to the earth was a spirit of the kingdom of heaven. And what is the kingdom of heaven? The kingdom of heaven is a place of bliss. In other words, is a place of, we would call it for short, paradise, or a place with that has no void. Everything there is completion. This is a spiritual place. This is not a place made of by intellectual thought or by the hands of man or mankind. This is a place that you can't see with the natural eye. So you have to be above where you are naturally to see this place. And you cannot be up under the influence of some place that's beneath the earth. You can't be an influence of a place of torment or a place of a place of evil or fear, and to actually experience the heaven. So Jesus came to bring us the kingdom of heaven. And if we're going to establish a relationship on this earth, let's say what we would consider a healthy, uncompromising, unconditional relationship uh, with the marriage and so forth, and being equally yoked or unequally yoked, it has to be established through a citizen of love or a foundation of love. No man on this earth was without sin. No man on this earth was without fear, was without disobedience to God. And so, therefore, no man can actually lay down the law about what love is and what love is not. So, love will have to come from above. It will have to come from a place that was ascended above the atmosphere, the customs, and so forth, that the traditions and everything we have learned up under pain, that we have learned up under evil. So in this case, this is where when the scriptures talk about coming from above, this is what we're talking about being above the sun. It will this come from a place that's high above, a place that you can't physically see because it's too perfect to be seen with something that's flawed. By us surviving off the five physical senses, we're surviving off a flawed instinct or a flawed perception. So therefore, we can't see perfection through something that's flawed. It's like trying to see a clean sight or a clean view through a broken glass. It's impossible. You can try to make do with the best you can of it, but you won't get the clear, precise perception of it because the glass is tainted. It's broken. So with that being said, we're going to establish a relationship with God, or better yet, what we're trying to do on the earth, we're trying to reproduce and reprocreate or procreate what God has already established in heaven on the earth by us, reproducing that production. When a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing and obtain favor of the Lord. So the Father's in unison with that. Your Father's also in unison with the person they choose to be a eunuch, which their heart is devoted towards just serving Him. And, serving Him is to walk in love. You in servanthood towards walking in love, not towards people that you love, but you're talking about towards your enemies and so forth. This is the commission of that individual. But also, you're free. I mean, you're fleed and your the desires or the interest is not towards uh, the connection of the physical contact with sexual immorality or sexual contact without that person. Uh, you haven't given the God has given you the consent to be with their child. Now, I get if any person would talk about how marriage works and marriage works or being equally yoked, unequally yoked, we could tie all that together with same sex or and all that good stuff, and even the opposite sex being unequally yoked. All that is together. It's unequally yoked, and it doesn't matter what day and time that we're in. The day and time that we're in have always been. We're in a time they would say is unprecedented that the things is going on, but mankind, the earth has always experienced this. It just may have experienced it to the magnitude that it is. It's like, if, for example, it's like comparison to say a, the Wright brothers creating the plane, you know, and and you have this Lear jet now. Somebody would say like this Lear jet is the first of its kind. Actually, it's not. It is actually a production of the original plane. It's just modified. That's all it is. It's just modified. In other words, it grew, it advanced. That's what the kingdom of heaven is about. So, with that being said, being with the opposite sex, or no, not being with the opposite sex. What I mean, but being with the person who of the opposite connection, which we will call unequally yoked. There's no room to grow. So this is where the same sex connects in too. There's no room to grow. Uh, you can perform as though that it is, and what I mean by that, it will give you the idea that it has produced because you have done things, but you actually have basically this cultivated time. And remember, time is not really like really the bond or the how can I say it? Time doesn't give the definition of eternity. So when we try to calculate time, our time is based upon the sun giving its shine. So if the sun doesn't give its shine, we don't know where we are. We're that lost. So if a person is in like if you're talking about unequally yoked, that goes from everything that we're seeing now has always been seen. You go in the Bible, you can see about how it talks about sexual immorality, same sex, and so forth, and all that is considered abomination to God. Why? Because it doesn't complete the soul. What it does is put a parasite inside the soul, and nonetheless, where that soul becomes hopeless, and a soul that's hopeless is dead. So there is no life to the spirit, so they wither away and die. But here's the thing, though, it doesn't end there because we are a spirit. So a place of the dead goes to the place of the dead. With that being said, we're talking about establishing a foundation through Jesus of a healthy relationship. But first and foremost, the father has to be able to rebuild or reconcile back to his, excuse me, back to his creation. If the father, excuse me, if the father can't reestablish himself back with his creation, well, then there is no refuge. There is no safe haven for that creation, and hell is basically welcome to come visit.